We have just learned that the Bills have fired their coach, Sean McDermott. That is according, of course, to our Adam Schefter. The news comes on the heels of the Bills' overtime loss to the Broncos on Saturday. The Bills never made it to a Super Bowl in the 9 years under McDermott, losing once in the wild card round, 4 times in the divisional round like we just saw Saturday, and twice in the AFC Championship game. It is important to note that GM Brandon Beane will be staying. He will lead the search for the next head coach. We're all learning this news as we come on air as well. What is your reaction to the firing of Sean McDermott?
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think he's being scapegoated. Why isn't Beane being gone? Why is he still keeping his job? He's the one that didn't have the assets necessary in order for the Buffalo Bills to advance. If the Buffalo Bills had pulled the trigger before the trading deadline and acquired Jalen Waddle from Miami, out of Alabama, from Miami, the way this brother could play, and you had given Josh Allen that kind of a threat, what would have happened? They didn't get blown out. They won a divisional playoff game in Jacksonville against the top 3 seed. They go to Denver against the number 1 seed and push them to overtime, and then you lose the game in overtime. Josh Allen is an absolute stud. We get all of that. But the man needs help. And the reality is that when you look at how Buffalo was bereft of weapons, how this coach, what's his record here? 98-50 in his career with Buffalo, 73-27, an NFL best over the last 6 seasons. If you had all the weapons with Josh Allen and you don't get it done, I understand. But we've seen this team overachieve throughout this season because we know he didn't have all the parts necessary. And for him to be gone and the GM not only to keep his job, but to lead the coaching search, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't think McDermott deserved this. I really don't.
I agree with Stephen A. And this, along with the firing of John Harbaugh, is telling me one thing. You only get so long with Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks to lose. Right. That's what this is saying. They're saying that Brandon Beane is saying the Buffalo Bills are saying that we have a good enough team because we have 17. But what about the people around him? What about the opportunities when you see a guy like Ed Oliver who's injured this year, Maxwell Harrison who's the first overall pick injured this year? You wait and you pass on a wide receiver in the first round to go to Keon Coleman, who hasn't produced at all since he's been a Buffalo Bill. And to me, if I'm Brandon Beane, I'm sitting there and saying, wait, everybody else is just recycling other coaches that have failed in other places. John Harbaugh lands in New York because he failed in Baltimore. Kevin Stefanski lands in Atlanta because he failed in Baltimore. You actually have a coach that's succeeding. You have a coach that's getting you to the right place and giving you opportunities. And let's be real. You have a coach with a roster that wasn't as good as the Denver Broncos roster that put his all-world quarterback in a spot to win a game, and he missed Dawson Knox. This is absolute bullcrap that Sean McDermott lost his job. He's an excellent coach. He's an excellent man, and he should still be leading the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, how are we judging the metrics of what do we consider a great coach or not?
Right.
If I hear that news and if I'm a member of the Buffalo Bills, I'm distraught. Because now, you said it, Stephen A., overachieved. How many times have we seen the Buffalo Bills? No, they don't got no roster to compete, and they found ways to compete. The thing that sticks out to me is 8 of 9 years you went to the playoffs.
7 straight.
So for me, I'm like, yo, if that's not a depiction of a great coach, you ain't going to find nobody just rolling around in the street or a coordinator that can potentially do that, because chances are you go get a coordinator, a first-time head coach. Guys don't just understand what it's like being a head coach, a true leader of the masses. Then you start to say, okay, are the team or will the team buy in? These are major questions. When you have a guy like Sean McDermott, a defensive mind, when you also understand that Buffalo Bills early on was called Panther North. I know Brandon Beane. I know Sean McDermott. He was the defensive coordinator for the 2015 Carolina Panthers. For that dynamic, it has to be something a little bit more sketchier that we may not know.
I will say this, and I'll defer to both y'all on this. One of the things that Brandon Beane better hope that Josh Allen agrees with this decision. This better not be a decision that he made regardless of what Josh Allen is feeling. Because if Josh Allen didn't have a problem with Sean McDermott as his head coach, Sean McDermott, based on his resume, should be there. There is only one reason one excuse based on their record. Remember, they've been in 2 FC championship games. They lost that to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, let's understand that, okay? The bottom line is this. When you look at, especially this year, and what they were able to pull off and what you weren't able to pull off before the trading deadline because you want to hold on to a first-round pick in 2026 according to the reports. Instead of giving up the first-round pick. You were willing to give it up to 2027, but you didn't want to give it up in 2026. Makes no sense to me. The only thing that makes any sense is if Josh Allen supports this move. If Josh Allen doesn't support this move and Brandon Beane made this on his own, it's a disgraceful decision.
Why would Josh Allen support this
Exactly.
move?
I don't know.
Josh Allen has had an opportunity to win since he became Josh Allen. We're not talking about in those first 2 years when he was finding himself, but since he became one of the best quarterbacks in football, he's had opportunities to make one throw. He's had chances to make one play, and they were going to continue to do that. And to me, I would look at the Pittsburgh Steelers in this sense. You have a coach in Bill Cowher who starts right away and he's winning. But he doesn't win a Super Bowl until year 14 in his tenure. But the Rooney family was patient because he was a good coach, because he was a great leader of men. And they know that there were less coaches out there that were better than Bill Cowher than there were that were. And so for the Buffalo Bills to think to themselves, we're going to go get a better coach. We're going to get somebody that they will want to play for more. We're going to get somebody that organizes more, that motivates more, that puts us in the right spot more, I think is a ridiculous sentiment.
Me to sit back and see you fire him, it must have been things behind the scenes that must have took place because, as you know, anytime you have enough males in any type of situation, we'll fool around and mess something up. You got a difference in your opinion. I got a difference in my opinion. You say we winning because of you. I say we winning because of me. That type of work does happen or penetrate a locker room. But at the same time, it's not enough to get fired.
But do you think not making a Super Bowl is enough to get fired? Because the no Super Bowl in 9 years seems to be the glaring weakness. That seems to be it.
If that was the case, it should be a lot of head coaches fired if we're going off of just Super Bowl success.
And the only way that can be a metric by which you judge Sean McDermott is because of who your quarterback is.
Right.
Because you feel like you have a Patrick Mahomes. You feel like you have a Joe Burrow, someone who can get into the playoffs. And so I think that has to be the only thing that made Sean McDermott expendable. But when you look at this team and where they are and what they've been through, you fire him after a game with one of the most questionable interception calls in the history of interception calls. With the Tyron Johnson pass interference that is absolutely in no way, at no time in the game, a pass interference call. With Josh Allen missing Dawson Knox, dirtying a ball to Shakir inside the red zone. There was so much going on in that game that wasn't about Sean McDermott. And he still had you in position to win with 3 of your wide receivers not available to you. I just don't understand how we get so impatient with good coaching.
But that's why I bring up Josh Allen. Because it's there. Listen, I don't know. I don't cover the Buffalo Bills. But it is fair to say this. He is the franchise. And if he wanted something different, that literally is the only excuse that you could possibly have for letting go of Sean McDermott. There is nothing about his resume. There is nothing about his record. There is nothing about his coaching that justifies this move at this particular moment in time. The only thing that makes sense is if the star and the face of your franchise says we could use a change. And I'm not saying Josh Allen did that because I don't know. It's just the only thing that makes sense.
Real quick.
Quickly.
The only person, there's probably only 5 people in the history of football that can make that call and say, I don't want that coach. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and probably 3 others that I'm not thinking about right now. Josh Allen hasn't reached that height yet, respectfully. He's a great player, game changer, all the above. But for him to be able to make a call and say, hey, I don't want him as our coach, come on, dog.
The last 2 MVPs in the NFL no longer have head coaches, are searching for head coaches in Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, which is remarkable.